an institution that's been growing for 3 years, going into our 4th year. We've seen, we've seen some change, and we've seen some real signs of help. You may recall that when we started, our hope was to help people give more and give better. And underneath all of that were all sorts of ideas for programs and services that we could provide to the donor community. We've been tackling, or we're trying to tackle, 3 major problems for philanthropy, 3 major challenges that philanthropy has presented. One of the things that we need to sort of think about is, what would sustainable giving look like in this community? How could we help build an ongoing resource for the investment in the social sector? And that was a challenge, because traditionally, as Bermuda, we hadn't really thought like that. We thought, let's give now, let's give big, makes us feel good, and it does feel good to give money and to see the sort of immediate sort of impact, or the impact on individuals. But if we want to do more, we want to be able to do that in the future, we needed to find a vehicle, a mechanism that could help us build a sustainable asset for the community. And then the other piece is that we found that people wanted to know that their giving would have an impact. And so one of the things that Myra has supported us, just through helping us through operational support, is to do what we call Bermuda's first vital signs report. And then last, tell us, how do you think we're doing so far as a country? So it is about a personal perspective, and it is about community members expressing an opinion. But when you think about it, what else would you want to guide what's important? So that's our number 3. So we've got sustainability and legacy giving. We've got what are the priorities and where do we need to put our resources? And then we've got, how will we know that we've made an impact? How do we evaluate that work? The relationship has changed and grown between the Bermuda Foundation and Myra, because as we changed and grew, we began to understand, well, what should a donor-grantee relationship look like? But then there's that nuance between sort of client advisory relationship between the Community Foundation. And we've been just trying to figure out to put the right set of resources and provide the Myra with whatever supports we can provide, but also be thinking long term is, could we do this across the spectrum of a number of donors? So being realistic about what we can do and how, and I think we found a nice balance where we're kind of saying, you know what, not only do you care about or want to learn more about different social sector areas, but it turns out that those are priorities as well. So for us to do more exploration in those areas and to shine a light on early childhood, or to shine a light on what incorporating mindful practices in schools or through the community, to have those sort of discussions at a wider level benefits both of us. So we can kind of justify and say, you know what, there's some resources going towards the Myra programs and towards what they're trying to achieve in developing a strategy, but those resources have a double impact, because we can use them too, and it's the kind of grant making that we want to be doing. We want to be doing concentrated grant making where we can eventually measure exactly what that change is going to look like. And so it's through Myra's strategy and thinking on some of these issues, which we understand may change. Many donors change, but we understand that priorities may change and interests may change. But the idea is that we get to benefit from your interest in a specific area, and we get to go deeper than we would have if it had just been a fiscal sponsorship. One of the things that we have really discovered about the Bermuda-based giving for Myra is that the people that you have supported are excited about their work. They're evidence-based driven. They read the literature, but then they're also playful. They have a strong core sense of what they're about as individuals and what they're about in terms of their role as leaders in their space. And I can't even say that it's a science. It's just you speak to them and you know, this is the person, this is the organization, these people we want to be in relationship with because we can help them. They have that passion, they have that knowledge, they're inquisitive, and they really care. And you just know. as a new organization, we've struggled relatively because we want to be small. We want to use our resources to maximum, but we also want to be nimble, and we don't want to be seen as having any unnecessary administrative sort of burden. That puts a heavy load on a small staff. What we sometimes need and we just don't have is, like, we kind of see the change that we want to be, but we just don't have time to make it happen. So people are now calling and saying, well, what do you know about this? Or can you advise this? And I'm like, next week, please. Or 2 weeks from now. It's almost like we're just on the cusp of really great things, and we don't have all of the resources at the same time to be able to deliver on it. And so I feel like, the Community Foundation is very much a needed vehicle here, but it also needs to grow itself. And that is where there's some tensions around, for us as the board and as the staff. We have to both grow ourselves and grow the community and grow our donors all at the same time. And it's trying to juggle that, to figure out where do we put our energies now and where we're working we have the most impact. But it's all so important. Every element of it's so important. It's so exciting because we can see where we're going to go with this, and it's just really exciting.